Someone insults you. Your chest tightens, your blood heats, your mind whispers the same dangerous thought. Fight back. You want the last word. You want to crush their ego. You want them to regret crossing you. But what if I told you the moment you react, you've already lost? Because real power isn't destroying your enemy. Real power is remaining untouched by them. This is the story of Kael, a man who fought everyone who challenged him, until he realized something terrifying. He wasn't protecting his pride. He was slowly destroying his peace. And if toxic people have ever drained your energy, this story might change how you fight your battles forever. Kael lived in a rough trading village where reputation meant survival. He was loyal, hardworking, protective of his family. But Kael had one fatal weakness. He could not ignore disrespect. If someone mocked him, he argued. If someone insulted his family, he confronted them. If someone questioned his honor, he fought until the air turned heavy. To Kael, silence meant weakness, and weakness was unacceptable. At first, people admired him. They said he had fire, but fire left uncontrolled burns everything. One afternoon, a traveling merchant accused Kael of cheating during a grain deal. The accusation was false, but Kael exploded. Voices rose, the market froze. A crowd formed around them. Kael dismantled every accusation, fact after fact. The merchant stood exposed before everyone. Kael won the argument, completely. But the merchant packed his goods and said quietly, "Then I will never trade with you again." That deal would have carried Kael's family through the winter. That night, Kael returned home with nothing. His mother served less food. His father ate in silence. Kael had won the battle of words, but he lost the war for his family's survival. He didn't just win the fight. He inherited the silence of an empty table and the weight of his father's disappointment. The next morning, Kael walked to the river beyond the village. Anger still burned inside him, but something deeper had begun to crack. An old traveler named Eldrick sat quietly beside the water. Eldrick had wandered across kingdoms. People said he understood life in ways most never would. Kael sat beside him. "They keep provoking me," Kael said. "I have to defend myself." Eldrick watched the river glide past the stones. Then he asked softly, "And how much peace has that defense given you?" Kael stared at the current. For the first time, he had no answer. Eldrick nodded slowly. "Come back tomorrow. The river will explain it better than I can." The next morning, Eldrick stood by the water holding a small stone. He dropped it into the river. The current bent around it, then kept moving. "Look closely," Eldrick said. "The river doesn't scream at the rock. It doesn't try to prove the rock wrong. It simply flows." Kael watched the water glide endlessly forward. Then Eldrick spoke again. "But here is what most people misunderstand about strength. The rock stays trapped in its own hardness at the mercy of the current. But the river, it reaches the ocean." Then he pointed toward the hills. "A storm can uproot the strongest oak tree, Kael. But the grass bends. When the storm passes, the oak lies broken. But the grass rises again." Eldrick turned to him. "Be the grass, be the water, be untouchable." Then he gave Kael one rule. Before reacting to anyone, ask yourself, is this battle worth losing my peace? Most arguments are traps. They promise victory, but they steal your energy, your time, and your calm. Anyone can win an argument. Only the wise know which ones are not worth fighting. Weeks passed. Kael began practicing the lesson. One insult ignored, one argument avoided, one walk away. At first people mocked him. Then something strange happened. Without Kael's anger feeding the conflict, there was nothing to fight. The same merchant returned one day. He mocked Kael loudly, in the middle of the market. People turned, waiting for the explosion. But Kael only smiled. Then he kept walking. The merchant shouted louder, but the insults felt like arrows hitting a mountain. They didn't leave a mark. They simply fell to the ground. And suddenly the crowd saw the truth. You cannot defeat someone who refuses to be your enemy. The laughter wasn't aimed at Kael. It was aimed at the man still shouting. Kael didn't win the argument. He won the room. That evening, Kael returned to the river. "I understand now," he told Eldrick. Eldrick nodded slowly. "You stopped trying to win every fight and started protecting what matters. Peace is expensive. Every argument asks you to pay for it. With time, with energy, with calm." Wise people understand something the world forgets. Not every insult deserves your attention. Not every challenge deserves your strength. Most people think strength means fighting every battle. But the strongest people in the room are often the calmest ones, because they understand something powerful. Silence can be strength. Walking away can be victory. And peace is worth more than proving someone wrong. But here's the hardest part. Walking away is easy. Letting the other person believe they won, that takes real strength. So if you're strong enough to stop fighting every pointless battle, type untouchable in the comments. Let's see how many people are ready to stop fighting and start living.